Hey everyone, Sakurayasin here, and today I'm doing another speed sketch, and I'm going to be talking about subjects unrelated to the drawing that I'm doing. I have some, issues with autofocusing in this. Sorry I didn't put a cross hair in the middle, but hopefully it's not too bad. It won't last too long anyway. So moving on. What I wanted to talk about today is something that I get a lot in emails with people asking me basically what they should do in terms of studying. Sometimes it's a case of like, should I draw from reference or not draw from reference? Or should I do everything from imagination and use no reference? Or should I use reference? Or other times it's a case of like, should I only do practice works and sketches and things? Or should I do finished works? Or should I not do finished works at all until I've mastered my fundamentals? And the answer I tend to always give them is to do both. Because when it comes to fundamentals and, the importance of learning fundamentals, it's true that it's super important to learn fundamentals. There's no getting around it. But the other thing that's true is that you'll be practicing the fundamentals for the rest of your life. So it's not really a case, in my mind anyway, it's not a case of like, oh, I master the fundamentals and I'm done, and then I just move on. I mean, some people do spend, maybe 2-3 years just studying fundamentals and then going on from there to more finished work and stuff. But I still feel like, I don't know, maybe I'm slower, but I still practice my fundamentals. I know a lot of professionals continue to do things like they'll go to life drawing or they'll practice basic draftsmanship exercises and things. So what I think instead is, if you really have an urge to do something, for instance, you really feel like, I want to try painting, I would say go ahead and do it. But don't stop practicing your fundamentals. Don't stop your sketching and stuff. Instead, do both. Try and fit enough time to do both things in your day, in your schedule. Now, with me, I've been doing this for a very long time. And what was important for me to continue to do is to draw kind of subconsciously, and this is something I would do at the end of every day. I have a secret sketchbook, and I've mentioned this before. Basically, I treat it like a journal, and I just draw whatever expresses how I felt about that day. So it's like a visual journal. And in that, it was very important to not judge it, not be analytical, not have any expectation, not care about, oh, does this look accurate? Are the proportions right? Is the anatomy right? None of that. And furthermore, it's not even draw necessarily what I want, as in, like, because what I do is I just sort of zone out and then I put down a mark. Now, sometimes that mark is a squiggle, sometimes it's a circle, sometimes it's a square, whatever it is. It's very almost unconscious. I just put down a mark, and then the thing I had to train myself out of was to stop interpreting it. Like, because at first I would put down the circle and I'd look at it and I'd think, oh, I probably want to draw a face. So I'd put eyes and whatever. And that was not what was helpful. What was important for me is to get over that. So I put down a mark, and then I sort of pay attention to how my body feels. And when I put down the next mark, sometimes I'm not even looking at the page. I'm just going with a feeling and putting down the mark and monitoring how I feel. Like, if I feel tense, I know I'm doing the wrong mark. If I feel relaxed, it's the right mark. And I just keep on putting these things down until at the end I have like an image. And sometimes it's surprising how I thought, oh, I probably am going to be drawing a face, right? And then no, in the end, it's something else. Maybe it's like a plant or something. But the point is, I don't judge it, and that's just what I do for myself. And there's no time necessary. It's not like I need to spend an hour doing this. I can spend 2 minutes if I want. And I've been doing it since 2003. I started in 2001, but it wasn't like every day that I would do this. And then 2003, I really committed to doing this every single day. And what I found is sometimes the drawings would be bad, and I would sort of, like, I would want to erase it, I would want to get rid of it, but I started to think, like, no, what this is doing is honestly representing how I feel. So if I look at this picture and I feel frustrated, like, that's not right, I ask myself, do I really, like, was today pretty frustrating? And usually it turns out that it was. So then that is an accurate representation of how I was feeling. So anyway, that's just one thing I do. But it's on top of everything else. And this is really the key here. It's that you don't have to sacrifice, one or the other. It's not about, do I draw from reference or imagination? Because I get told this as well, with people saying, well, when I draw from reference, I feel like I'm learning, and I mean, not everybody says that, but some people do feel like they're learning and they're getting more out of it. And then when they draw from imagination, it's really bad. And I think, like, no, you should draw from imagination if you want to be better at drawing from imagination, because you get better at whatever you do. I've mentioned this before, but it's important enough to mention it again and again, that you get better at whatever you do. So if you copy from reference a lot, you'll get better at copying from reference. If you draw from imagination a lot, you'll get better at drawing from imagination. But drawing from reference isn't going to hurt your drawing from imagination unless you're not drawing from imagination, unless you're only drawing from reference. So that's one part of what I wanted to talk about. The other thing is to make sure that you are doing something you like every day. And the reason for this is because sometimes we get caught up in this type of almost study mode thing where it's like, oh, I have to do my perspective and I don't really enjoy it. And it's like, oh, I'm just doing it just cause, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do. And I study my anatomy. And the danger with this is if you keep this up, you can start to either dislike art, or else you may forget why you wanted to be an artist in the first place. So I think it's very important to be drawing at least a bit of something that you actually like in the day. And so for myself, when I start, often the first drawing I do is sometimes it's a face or a figure or something that I actually like drawing. And then I treat that almost like a warm-up. Like, fine, do my little thing, because you have to warm your arm up as well. It's not going to be that you can just be good right away. Or usually not. Usually you have to draw a bit before you get in the zone or get in the groove or something like that. Even with this one, you can see the lines are sort of scratchier. If I had drawn again for another, 30, 40 minutes, the lines would have improved a lot more. But anyway, draw something you like. And if it's not in the beginning, at least at some point, just to remind yourself, like, this is what I want to do. And maybe you don't have to be so hard on yourself. It's not, oh, it didn't come out right. It's going to take a while before it comes out right. And with iterative drawing anyway, it's easier to get better at this. I also had some questions or comments that I saw where people were asking, about hand techniques and stuff. Because I did mention in my last video how to use your arm in practice and things. If you go to my playlists on my channel, there's a bunch of playlists, and there's one that's dedicated to beginners for artists who are just getting started. And there's a few videos, and I think they're pretty important. If you have watched them, that's fine. But if you haven't, if you're new to this channel, I really recommend you start there if you're a beginner. And I go through things like how to hold a pencil, how to make marks, how to draw with your arm and not your fingers and stuff like that. So I would recommend you do that. So tying into this idea of, people saying, what do I do? Do I do this or do I do that? It also is sometimes a case of people will say things like, I want to be a comic book artist, and then how do I get there? And they'll post a link to their gallery. And okay, so I look through their work, and I don't see anything that's related to comic book art. And the idea is, I will do comic book work when I have got my fundamentals and stuff. And I think this is actually a bad way of going around it, going about it, because to me, it's better to just start. Whatever you want to do, just start. And the reason is this. If I'm going to go ahead and practice fundamentals, let's say I'm practicing, I need to learn anatomy, I need to learn perspective and all this stuff. I don't know how much I actually am learning that I'm going to be using. Like, how much is going to carry over and how much is just like, well, this is a bit too much. I think back to high school or elementary school as well, and like math and how little I actually use today that I learned in school. Like I use percentages and multiplication, division, addition, subtraction, stuff like that, but I don't use most other things, really. So it's the same with art. Like when you draw a comic, think about it in terms of, okay, let's say you're going to draw a comic, and what's the thing that's stopping you? Maybe you might think at first, like, but I don't even know how panels should work or how those go. It's like, perfect. That's the first thing you need to learn. So it's not, do I need to learn anatomy? It's like, no. You want to be a comic artist, learn how to place panels, study other comic books, maybe read books. There's a great book called Framed Ink, which I think is really good for stuff like this, how to tell a story. Then maybe you are caught up in, composition. How do I create the characters on this? I want this to look dynamic. Again, Framed Ink is good for this too. And there are other resources available that can teach you this. But by doing the thing you want to do, you will be encountering problems and finding out what your weaknesses are, and you'll be able to solve those. And then next time, if you want to show somebody your work, it's like, I want to be a comic book artist, and then here is my work. And it'll be comic book pages. And first of all, that's what you want to do, so that's good. And then the person can look at it, and maybe they see something specific that you're lacking, and it's like, okay, work on this. And that's going to help a lot, much more than if you show, here's a drawing I did of a Pokemon character, and here's a still life I did, and here's a portrait in acrylic of my grandma, and here's some stick figures using gesture. It's really all over the place, right? So that's important. And there's this other thing in terms of finding out what you want to do. Because some people say, well, that's all well and good if you want to be a comic book artist, but I don't know what I want to do. I know I want to do art, but where do I go from this? And often these people are the type who will say sort of like, I want to be a concept artist, or I want to be just stuff they've heard, like they've heard someone say, I'm a concept artist, and they've said, concept artists make money and concept artists seem good. I should be a concept artist. That's what I want to do. That's what I'm going to do. But I think it's better to actually look back to when you were young. And if you're young, this isn't going to be too far. But look at what you like or liked before you started worrying about skill. An artist that's really good is William Bouguereau. And when I first saw his work, I didn't see all of it, but I saw like angels and stuff, like these little cherubs floating around, and I didn't like it. It's like, no, that's stupid. Just some naked angels floating around. I don't care about this. And then later, when I was getting into painting, it's like, whoa, oh my God, this is amazing. Look how he renders this. Look at the smoothness of everything. And it was all so good in terms of value and color and composition. But that's a difference between something you learn to admire and something you actually like and you want to emulate. And I think it's important to even think about artists you like and divide them into two categories. Because for instance, I admire Craig Mullins. He's an amazing concept artist, probably one of the best artists of our age, in my opinion anyway. And I admire him so much, but I don't really want to emulate him. Like, I don't see my work looking like that. And it's not like I wouldn't want his ability. It's like, that would be awesome. I could do a lot with that skill. But really, when I think about it, like, what did I like when I was a kid? It wasn't that, you know? It wasn't stuff that looked like that. It was more, you know, line drawing and manga type exaggerated features and stuff, and dynamic poses and extreme color and stuff. So that's where I go to. And it's really important. So separate the artist you admire to the artist you want to emulate. And it's okay to admire people you have no interest in emulating. But I think it's very important to separate it so that you can really focus on the artists you want to emulate and use them as guides of what do I need to improve on, you know? Maybe you're drawing a lot and you're drawing from imagination, you're doing iterative drawing and you're getting stuck and it's like, I don't know what to improve on. Well, look at the artists you emulate and look at what they're doing and ask yourself, what are they doing that I'm not doing? So I think this will really help. And yeah, it's important, very important to separate, to stop looking at things just from the skill and the technique basis, because really you're gonna get skill by drawing a lot. And by learning more. If you're in the beginning of your art journey, it may seem like skill is the most important thing. And, oh my God, I just wish I could do that. And I hear a lot of things like, I wish I had half of your ability. Or if I even had a quarter of your ability, I'd be able to die happy. It's like, no, if you have a quarter of my ability, you'll wish you had a half of my ability. If you had a half of my ability, you'll wish you had all of my ability. If you had all of my ability, you wouldn't even care. It's like, no, it's not about that. So then it comes down to what is important, what does matter. And I think in the end, what really matters is what do you like and what do you want to say in terms of your art? What do you want to communicate? What do you want to show to the world? And I think the thing the world benefits the most from is you being genuine. It's just you creating work that is really just you. No one else could create this but you because of your specific experiences, your tastes, your way of seeing the world is unique. So if all you're doing is copying others, sure, that's a good place to jump off of. It's a good launching point, but it's not a good place to stop. The best place to go after a while is just you, yourself. What do I bring to the table? What am I interested in? And yeah, I think iterative drawing is very good at figuring things like this out, because you can just draw and draw and draw and see what you like and analyze and make adjustments. So anyway, that's the talk for today, and hope it helped, and thanks for watching.